My first book I read this week was my chapter book called Holes. This book was written by Louise Sachar. The book received a John Newbery Medal. I would give this book, if I had to give it a rating, 3.5 out of 5-star rating. I thought this book was decent overall, but I thought it could have been a bit better. This book allowed me to understand how there are people every day that are falsely accused of crimes, and no matter what they do to try to not be falsely accused, they still get punished. The theme of this book is friendship. We can see this through the fact that the main character becomes friends with his kid who needs his help, and he then saves him as well in the end. This book makes me think about how every day we see people who need friends and we turn away. At first, this book was a bit confusing, but I do understand it a lot better now. If I had to choose one thing I didn't like about this book, it would be how he got bit by the rattlesnake, because it seemed a bit out of character and it was a bit cringy. If I had to choose one thing that I did like about this book, it would be that even through all the struggles in the book, everything still ended up okay in the end. My first picture book I read this week is called La Princesa and the Pea. This book was written by Susan Middleton Elia. It is a Pura Belpré Illustrator Award winner. If I had to give this book a rating, it would be a 3 out of 5-star rating. It was a very good book. Better than I truly do think that it was better than the chapter book, but since it was a chapter book and this was a picture book, I gave it a little bit of a lower rating. It allowed me to understand some Spanish words that I had forgotten using the context clues. I have 4 years of Spanish, and using some context clues, it really did help to remember them. I did enjoy the pictures as well. I can see why it got the award that it got. The pictures were a bit different than most books, which was very unique. The theme of this book is do not give up on love, no matter what obstacles you may have to overcome. The prince fell in love with a maiden, but his mother was determined to scare off the maiden, no matter what she needed to do. This book makes me think about how at times parents can be hard on their children and who they claim to be in love with, though they are only hard on them because they want what is best for them in the end, and they want them to live long, happy lives with that person. At first, I was a bit confused about what the book was about, but then it made more sense as the book went on, which seems to be what happens in most books that I've read so far, which makes sense. If I had to choose one thing that I didn't like about the book, it would have to be the fact that this is partially a Spanish book, but there are a few words thrown out there, and I really thought that was a bit strange. I expected to see a bit more words. If I had to choose one thing that I did really like about the book, it would have to be that the way the pictures were illustrated. I really enjoyed all of the illustrations, and I think I enjoyed it because they were very unique, and you don't see those type of illustrations very often. The next book I read was my second picture book called Officer Buckle and Gloria. This book was written by Peggy Rathman. This book is a Caldecott Medal Award winner. If I had to give this book a rating, it would be a 4 out of 5-star rating. It was a very enjoyable book. This book allowed me to understand how many different safety tips there are. It actually allowed me to pick up some safety tips that I may have forgotten as well. The theme of this book is to be safe and follow the rules. Officer Buckle will go to the school and try to teach the students and the teachers about his safety tips, but no one ever listened, until a dog named Gloria was hired by the police department and started doing tricks on stage behind Officer Buckle. This book makes me think about when presenters would, and still do, come into schools and the students don't listen to them. It makes me think about how much respect we should give the presenters. This book had me shocked about how little we do pay attention and how truly rude it is to the presenters. If I had to choose one thing I didn't like about this book, it would have to be how it had the safety tips in the book in like a separate line of the book. I do like having the tips in there, obviously, because it is a book about safety, but not in the way they did. If I had to choose one thing I did like about the book, it would be how they used an animal in the book to get the students' attention. I'm a huge animal lover, and I think that it is a very cute and smart way of doing it and making the children who are reading the book pay closer attention.